So, how about that new Star Wars movie, huh? Are you pumped? Because I am. And I know I shouldn't be. Not after the prequels broke all of our hearts. We should have just all written off these movies as a relic of a long, long time ago. But I'm still excited. I mean, who isn't? We want this movie to be good and do well. I'm gonna go see it, and you're gonna go see it, and we're all gonna hand George Lucas our money yet again. Because the Force still flows through all of us, waiting to be awakened. Star Wars just feels like it'll always be around, like Shakespeare or the Bible. It's a truly timeless movie that feels just as fresh as the day it came out. Of course, if you want to make the whole franchise look like painfully dated kitsch instead, you do have many options. Yes, we're all aware of the vast garbage heap of merchandise, spin-offs, and collectible Pepsi cans dumped on the world by George Lucas's pop culture behemoth. But while we know the many successful Star Wars movies, TV shows, books, and video games, today we'll be looking at the most successful of its rare forays into popular music. Bearing the unwieldy title Star Wars Theme / Cantina Band, it is, yes, a disco version of the famous John Williams score. And it was a #1 hit. Let me repeat that. A #1 hit in 1977, becoming one of the most immediately dated and silly things from a series that also spawned an Ewoks cartoon and C-3POs. But who was the musical Jedi Master who created it? Well, that man bore only one name, Meco. Makes him sound like a Star Wars character himself. You seek Meco. And Mr. Meco is an elusive soul. There's no video of him. None. He only ever made literally one appearance on television, which I don't have, so yeah, I got nothing. The best I can get you is footage of the song being performed on various 70s dance shows, which clearly did not have much of a costume budget. So what was going on that year that turned a silly dance remix of a movie theme into a hit song? What inspired Meco to do it in the first place? And why wasn't the Force strong enough for him to have a second hit? Well, let's find out. The story of Meco, much like Star Wars itself, begins on a distant backwater alien world. North Central Pennsylvania. This is where young Domenico Monardo, Meco for short, was born and raised, all the time hoping for a more exciting life away from Johnsonburg, PA. But it turns out he had a special gift that would take him far away. It wasn't the Force, which at least meant his family didn't get murdered. No, that gift was music, which was strong in his family. His father had it, his sister had it. Okay, I don't know if he had a sister. But his dad did play in a marching band, and Meco wanted to join in and play drums. He got a trombone instead. Funny story here, as a middle schooler, I myself also played low brass just like Meco. And as such, I want to say this to everyone. Do not do this to your child. You will only make life harder for him. The other kids will laugh at him when he tries to play it or carry it on the bus, and then they'll beat him up. It is no surprise to me at all that this poor kid wound up making the geekiest hit of all time. Maybe tomorrow. Anyway, I read a quote from him where he said he didn't really like pop music, which is funny because he wound up working on quite a few pop hits. He went to New York and became a session musician, arranger, and producer for quite a few big hit songs. But that wasn't the way he'd make his biggest mark on the world. You see, he was kind of a sci-fi nerd, surprise, and in 1977, he went to see a little sci-fi movie that came out that year. Nope. No, look, you already know what it is. Anyway, he saw it like a dozen times, and like everyone, he loved the theme song too, but apparently he found its lack of boogie disturbing, so he took it upon himself to restore groove to the Force. And the result was... People forget that Star Wars was, for its time, actually a very grungy, ugly movie. People were used to sci-fi being shiny, sleek chrome and rockets, and here we got a movie full of sand and crappy, worn-out electronics and garbage. But you forget all that because it feels like this awe-inspiring, epic story, starting right with that opening theme. I think you can reasonably say that John Williams is the most famous and recognizable film composer of all time. And the Star Wars theme would be his most famous and recognizable work. It blasts you in the face right away with the impression that you are watching the grandest opera of all time. The original Star Wars score is just one of the all-time greatest movie soundtracks in history. And it was outsold by Meco. Since I wasn't there at the time, I don't know how much overlap there was between the stereotypical Star Wars dork, the mainstream movie audience, and the disco dancers who presumably bought this record. If I were to just guess, I'd assume this was actually an entirely geek-based phenomenon. But I also found this old clip of Soul Train.
Star Wars.
Hearing Don Cornelius say Star Wars feels weird. But these dancers seem to be grooving without any problem whatsoever. I mean, there's one guy doing the robot, but other than that, they just seem to be dancing with no nerd shame whatsoever. And really, why would they? I mean, yeah, everyone knows it's from Star Wars, but if you just ignore that, yeah, it sounds like it could be a regular disco song. Fits really well. Hey, maybe if we took the beat out of the Soul Train thing, we could turn it into like this epic movie score. Actually, with the disco beat under it, this kind of sounds like the theme to a cop show or something. Yeah, it's not just nerd nostalgia that makes me like this song, it just works. I think it helps that it's not just a remix, it's like an actual orchestral rearrangement. If it were nowadays, they'd just add a beat under it and that'd be it. And also, it was fortunate that this came out at a time when pop music was pretty lush and orchestral. Synthesizers wouldn't really be a thing for a couple years yet, so disco tended to favor big, full brass sections and strings. Meco didn't really have to change that much. And to be completely honest, Meco wasn't the first guy to come up with this idea. Just the year before, some guy turned Beethoven's Fifth Symphony into a disco song. And there was also an old Al Jolson tune from the 20s, so this was not really that out of the ordinary. But this is the first one that did a remix of something that was actually popular, like, right now. Although, I never noticed, but the alien thugs in the Cantina seem really into Dixieland jazz. I don't know, it's not like something I'd ever choose to listen to, but as far as novelty records go, I've certainly heard worse. On a scale of Jar Jar to Han Shoots First, I'd rank it a good, solid Chewbacca. So yeah, just like Star Wars itself, Meco was successful beyond his expectations. But unlike George Lucas, he couldn't spend 3 years crafting a sequel. He had to capitalize on his surprise success right now. Success leads to expectations. Expectations lead to rush production. And rush production leads to... Okay, for what it's worth, I don't know if I can even pick one song that would really count as the follow-up, because he pumped out a lot of vinyl in a really short amount of time. But let's start with the immediate follow-up. How do you follow something like this? Well, with more movie themes, obviously. But what? Jaws probably doesn't work as a disco song. The Godfather? There's already a disco Godfather. Plus, those movies are years old now. Is there some kind of other sci-fi flick out right now? Preferably with a John Williams theme? Okay. It could work. I mean, Close Encounters, that's one of John Williams' really just greatest... I don't actually know how the theme to that one goes. No, actually, this kinda doesn't work. I'm not sure how to feel about this. It's too quirky to make good dance music, Also, where's that little 5-note riff that they talk to the aliens with? I mean, that's the only music I really remember from Close Encounters. That's not even remotely synced up to the beat. Come on, Meco. Okay, that was 77. What happened in 78? Are we lucky enough to have any more sci-fi John Williams soundtracks? Hell yeah, now there's a movie theme. Let's funk this up. Honestly, I don't think this works either. I mean, the Star Wars remix, I thought that actually was more than just the same song with a disco beat pasted on clumsily. But this, yeah, that is all it is. The other album he released that year was a disco version of the Wizard of Oz soundtrack. So if you really want to hear a version of Over the Rainbow that sounded like The Hustle, well, here you go. Look, I like a lot of disco, but let me be clear here. If you want to believe that disco did in fact suck and needed to be immolated as public spectacle, listening to disco-fied covers of things that didn't need to be covered will quickly convince you. Honestly, this is true of most novelty cover acts. It's true of Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, it's true of Richard Cheese, it's true of those stupid novel CDs you find at the music store that are like a Calypso tribute to Motley Crue or whatever. It just gets lazy and it wears out. To be fair, Meco's albums weren't all covers. He also had a number of original compositions on there. For example, there's this one called Topsy. This is the sound of hell. Oh, he kept this shtick up for a long time. 1980 also gave us our second Star Wars movie, so Meco finally released a second Star Wars song. You know, in case Darth Vader wanted to shake his groove thing. At some point, Lucas also commissioned, no joke, a Christmas album. Because, you know, mixing Star Wars and Christmas worked so well the first time. This album, which Meco produced, is notable for featuring the first recorded appearance of Jon Bon Jovi, but mostly it's known for its big single, What Do You Get a Wookiee for Christmas When He Already Has a Cone?
What can you get a Wookiee for Christmas when he already owns a cone? It's really a problem.
I don't know, pants? Hollow porn? You know, Wookiees are more than just hair, you racist. The thing is, he did have a pretty decent career when not doing this. You probably know this song. Yeah, he performed on it. He actually got a trombone solo on the radio in 1980, which is no small accomplishment. He also produced Kenny G's first album, which, you know, not my favorite thing in the world, but my point is he sold records. But as a lead artist, yeah, it was mostly movie themes. Dance version of themes to the miniseries Shogun and the Star Trek The Motion Picture. Themes to a whole bunch of movies all in a row for that complete Stars on 45 style embarrassment to humanity. Eventually his career ended in the only way it could, with a dance remix of the Ewok Celebration from Jedi. After that, AllMusic says Meco retired from music entirely, moved to Florida, and became a commodities broker. Although he did resurface alongside episode 1 to give us a techno version of Duel of the Fates. He didn't do the same for the other prequels, which, yeah, probably a good move. No? Yeah, this guy's best work is definitely not as a lead artist. This is a guy who belonged behind the scenes while other people took the lead. Star Wars was fertile enough to keep going for eternity, but the disco Star Wars theme was not. It is distinctly of a very specific time and place. But for that short moment in time, it worked. May the dance be with you.
Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars.